The Chicago Blackhawks, an Original Six franchise with a rich history of star players and many championships. The 2010s were a dynasty decade for the Hawks, but eventually, all things come to an end, and for the Blackhawks, their ending came fast and harsh. Following the departure of franchise players like Patrick Kane and Jonathan Toews, the Hawks have now shifted into a new era for their hockey club, with this season in particular being advertised as the turning point for the organization. After years of rebuilding, the Chicago Blackhawks have finally struck gold with the arrival of Connor Bedard, a generational talent who has ushered a wave of optimism in for this team. But in the offseason, the team decided to bring in veteran firepower like Tyler Bertuzzi and Teuvo Teravainen to help bolster up this roster. Yet as we approach the quarter mark of the season, a sense of unease is settling over the Windy City. The Blackhawks are struggling, and the early returns are raising serious questions about the direction of this franchise. So today, let's talk about the Chicago Blackhawks, their slow start to the season, the lack of production from their players, and why this team may be in a rebuild a lot longer than people had originally thought. Chicago's record speaks for itself. While it is early on in the season, the team is in a tough spot. The offense has sputtered, the defense, while looking a little bit more improved, has its lapses, and overall the team in general just is not meeting the expectations that were set from their offseason acquisitions. Well, let's talk about this team in general, to see if we can narrow down some of the underlying issues that are plaguing this hockey club. So let's start by talking about the team's franchise player, Connor Bedard. The analytics tell a story of an offense that's struggling to generate consistent high-danger scoring chances. While Connor Bedard's arrival brought a surge of excitement for this franchise, his production hasn't quite matched the hype. His shooting percentage is below his usual standards, and his ability to drive plays hasn't translated into consistent goals. Analyzing Bedard's advanced metrics reveals a potential issue. His Corsi for percentage, a measure of shot attempts while he's on the ice, is hovering around a 51% mark. This suggests a struggle to consistently control puck possession in the offensive zone, preventing him and his line mates from generating high-quality scoring chances. Although his individual scoring chances are decent, his finishing ability, which was expected to be lights out this year, has not materialized as expected. Bedard's slow start isn't a major concern, but it could cause a bit of worry for fans who were expecting him to break out similarly to previous first overall selections. He's still a phenomenal talent, but the pressure of expectations and the team's overall struggles might be affecting his performance. The team needs to find better ways to utilize his elite skill set. They need to create more space and allow him to be more of a playmaker instead of solely relying on him for goals. This could eventually unlock his full potential if they continue to develop him in the right direction. The Chicago Blackhawks offense doesn't end with Connor Bedard. There are other players to blame. Two players that I've been keeping an eye on are Tyler Bertuzzi and Teuvo Teravainen, players who were brought in this offseason to help boost up this top six. Unfortunately though, there doesn't seem to be much of a change in the offensive numbers when compared to Bedard's rookie season. In fact, the numbers are just as inconsistent as they were last year. Their offensive zone entry success rate is below league average, indicating difficulties in gaining control of the offensive zone, which is what allows you to score in the first place. This percentage was supposed to be much improved this year when the team added these new forwards, but unfortunately their impact just hasn't changed much about the team's overall structure. Tyler Bertuzzi has 6 points in 18 games played, Teravainen has 8 points in 18 games played, and even previously acquired established players like Taylor Hall seem to be struggling on this team, only logging 6 points in 17 games played. This all suggests that the overall makeup of this team isn't exactly working offensively. What's worth noting though is that the Blackhawks power play has been solid to start the year, ranking middle of the pack 14th at the time of this recording at a 20% success rate, indicating that the team's overall production in 5v5 play is to blame for their lack of wins. So overall, to summarize this team's offensive struggles, Connor Bedard's inability to execute up to expectations has definitely hurt this team, but he's still young and should be able to continue developing as time goes on. It's other forwards like Taylor Hall, Tyler Bertuzzi, and Teuvo Teravainen who have really hurt this team when it comes to their 5v5 play, which is then trickled down throughout the rest of the lineup, affecting other areas and styles in which this team would like to play hockey. Unfortunately, they're just not playing a brand that is friendly to the amount of talent that they have on this team, which has led to their record of being the worst ranked team in the NHL to start the year. Chicago's offense was really the only chance for this team to have some success this season, especially when you consider just how young and inexperienced this team's defensive unit is. Defensively though, the Blackhawks have faced similar if not worse challenges. While they've managed to block a decent number of shots, their ability to prevent opponents from entering the defensive zone is a major concern. Their defensive zone entry success rate is unfortunately high, and their team's defensive zone giveaways from opponents per 60 minutes is alarming, meaning opponents are able to gain control of the puck and create scoring chances with relative ease. This is putting immense pressure on the offense to score at a higher rate, and puts more pressure on goaltenders to have to make high danger saves. The Blackhawks netminders have been facing a heavy workload due to the struggles in front of them, but still surprisingly playing well considering the overall pressure that they're facing. Their save percentage is currently tied for 6th in the league at .914, and they're also tied for 18th in the league in goals against average at 3.11 per game, which while not terrible, is still not elite. Their high danger save percentage is also a bit low, which suggests that while they might be saving shots from the outside, they're still struggling against high quality chances, a trend that could continue to hurt them. But overall, the two areas of this team's roster, their defense and their goaltending, seems to be exceeding expectations, while the offense continues to fall short. The Blackhawks' early struggles raise a bit of concerning questions for this team and the overall direction that they seem to be heading in. Is the team relying too heavily on Connorbedard, hindering his development and the development of young players around him? Are the recent acquisitions fitting in as expected? And can the defense and goaltending core withstand the onslaught of pressure they've faced so far? Despite the early struggles, there's still reason for optimism within the Blackhawks organization. Bedard remains a phenomenal talent, the new additions of Bertuzzi and Teravainen have the capability to contribute, and the overall team and roster is filled with young, hungry players eager to prove themselves. Expectations were raised in the offseason. Bedard was supposed to be playing a little bit better, so yes, you do have a little bit of a right to be concerned about this team, but I wouldn't panic. They're still so early on in their rebuild. They have amazing young players coming up through their prospect rankings. I would just sit back and enjoy this period of hockey if you're a Chicago fan. You have a generational talent. Let him learn the ropes. Let him experience things in the NHL. And pretty soon, I bet the Blackhawks will be right back in a playoff position competing for more Stanley Cups. But let me know what you guys think. Are you worried about Connorbedard, his development, and the development of other young players for this franchise? And are you disappointed with the start of the season for Chicago based on some of the raised expectations of the offseason? Before I sign off, about 90% of the people who are watching these videos have not subscribed to the channel. I have a sub goal of about 20,000 subscribers that I want to reach by the end of the year, and I think we can do that. So if you guys want to support me and the content that I create, make sure you hit that like button now and subscribe to the channel. And thank you guys as always for watching these videos. I appreciate every one of you. I will see you guys in the next one.